Alrighty, let's start today off with your AUD. We have 3 pairs for today that you guys voted on: Euro AUD, Euro USD, and NZD USD. Okay, now mind you, today we have both high impact news on Euro pairs and USD pairs. Alright, so it's going to be a very bumpy day or evening because it's going to happen around during the US session. So again, if you are not comfortable with trading with the news, sit out and wait. Alright? Now we start off with Euro AUD. Euro AUD. Now currently on H4, we have a buy zone down here, which is an engulfing buy meets an engulfing buy. Okay? Then we have our sell zone, which is a fresh engulfing fail. It was a buy that failed, but when price came back in after failing, tapped the key level before dropping down. Okay, so it's a fresh engulfing fail because no candle has closed within to create an engulfing sell yet. So again, buy, sell. So what can it do? You see the current price just hovering above our buy zone. Now on the H4 perspective, it already tapped in to our key level. So what do? Let's check M15. Now on M15, by the key level, where we don't really have any setups, but if we go on to M5, we see that through the key level, it has created an engulfing sell that failed. So what can we do? If it truly will go into a buy, or not truly, but has more chance of going into a buy, we have to wait for the price to come down in M5 since M15 has no setup yet. So we wait for the price to come in, close within, create an engulfing buy at least, because if it does, it's an EFEG. But if you miss the first EFEG, then wait for the price to come back a second time to create the ABC or HLZ, okay? Because if you miss the EFEG, sometimes you miss the trade. If you do, then don't chase. Wait for the next opportunity. But if the price retraces to complete the ABC, you at least have something to monitor for the second engulfing before pressing anything on EA. Okay? So wait for the set to complete before pressing, and remember, always look for setups in M15 first before switching down to M5. Switching down to M5 because the higher time frames will have a bigger movement. Okay? So that's for EA. If H4 still respects our zone, meaning it does not close below the zone, then potentially we can catch a buy, because on EA, key level to key level is 130 pips. Okay, so if we're able to catch this buy up, plus the news, if it allows us to go on a full swing from key level to key level, then you would catch 130 pips. But if it decides to continue to go on a downtrend, as you can see on H4, this retracement over here, very, very deep retracement on H4. If it decides to go down and H4 breaks our buy zone, then potentially we can look for a sell opportunity when the price retraces back into the key level, right? But if it wants to follow the main direction that you see going on, H4 has been going on a heavy uptrend also, but you can see the deep retracements, right? Like over here, after shooting up, retrace, up, still coming back to the same price level, up, retrace, up, down, right? So if it wants to continue on an uptrend, and this might be the main point of reversal, which potentially could be, then H4 cannot break below our zone. All right? Now, if price decides to come into our sell zone and the EA still wants to go on a downtrend, H4 cannot break above this engulfing fail, because if it does, then potentially it might want to test a higher area, which we have engulfing cells over here, another group of cells over here that it could potentially want to test. All right, so that's it for EA, because if it decides to respect both of the zones, as you can see here, tap tap, you will see just going on a sideway until one of the zones break. Now next pair, EU. EU, I'm giving you 3 zones, all right, where the current price was at H4 started over here. Then we have our sell zone and another buy zone. Okay, so this zone you can monitor because from zone to zone is around 40 to 50 pips for EU. And you know EU is a very slow pair, hence you get 20 to 40 pips during regular days, but if there is news, sometimes you can push 60 to 80 pips. Okay, so EU for beginners who want to try out a very safe pair. All right, so EU, again, our sell zone up top and 2 of our buy zones down below. Now current price is over here. It tapped the key level and jumped up, but if we go into a smaller time frame, it didn't really create any setups in the key level, but M15 did create an engulfing buy meets an engulfing buy just right below the key level. Okay, right below the key level when H4 did not break our zone. So far it's still respecting our buy zone. But do we enter yet? No. Okay, we don't enter yet because we want something to happen in the key level. If we look at M5, M5 has created an engulfing buy over here. So what I would like it to do is I want the price to at least retrace, then create something. If this is an engulfing buy on M5, then I want the next one to create an engulfing buy before I press anything. But on the M15 perspective, it cannot break below this zone, right? This zone on M15. Okay. Oops, let's go on to H4. If H4 still decides to respect our zone, then potentially we can catch a buy from here. If it wants to break the zone, maybe you can see because H4 has close to an hour for the new opening. So if it decides to want to break our buy zone and test this zone, H4 will have to close below. If it closes below, either we wait over here for a buy or we wait for the price to retrace back into the key level and look for sell opportunities instead. Okay, when the news come, if it decides to shoot up into our sell zone and H4 does not break above, then you may look for sell opportunities. Okay, but if it decides to shoot through our sell zone, then you look for the next sell zone, or you wait for the price to retrace back into the key level and look for a buy opportunity instead. Okay, remember after you have entered the market, count 40 pips from your entry and that will be your SL. Okay, to help manage your losses because you never know which direction the market is truly gonna go. Okay, you cannot predict that. You can only add up the potentials and just strengthen the quality of your zones. All right, last but not least, NZD USD. Sell zone, buy zone. Now, I haven't mapped anything in between because there are no zones that I see, right? This was a straight drop, then the price zigzagged up. So what can we do? Either I wait for the price to come into my buy or sell zone to see if it respects it or not, or if you have a higher risk appetite and you want to find an entry in this black zone, you can scalp. Okay, you can scalp. So I'm just giving you potentials. For me, I don't like to scalp. I like to wait for my zones and I like to hold for big pips. So I'm not going to trade in this black zone because I have no idea what the market is going to do. But if you want to scalp, either into each of these zones, you can go into a smaller time frame to see what's happening. On H1, we have an engulfing sell meets an engulfing sell. So you can try to look for sell opportunities. On M30, we also have sell meets a sell. Then it has to break this one. Our buy meets buy. Okay, M30 has to break this to continue dropping. And it has to break above this to continue going up. Now currently it's just here. It's just literally here where M30 created an engulfing fail. So if it respects this fail, there's a likelier chance for it to drop. But if it breaks above the fail, then it might test higher areas and slowly climb into our sell zone. Okay? So we never know. But if you want to scalp, you can use those zones that I've mapped out or told you, H1, M30, even M15. But M15, there isn't much. M15, you'd have to wait. Well, there's a fail here. Another sell meets sell over here. There are so many zones in the black zone. But if you want to scalp, you can. NZD/USD, 10-20 pips, manually close the trades, okay? Because if you are scalping, again, you do not want to be caught if the price goes in the opposite direction, all right? So that's it for the 3 pairs. I'm just going to run through what happened yesterday through the 3 pairs because I slept before FOMC. Now, GJ, I told you that the daily candle cannot close above 177.478. Okay? And on the daily perspective, it hadn't closed. But the price was pushing up. Now, why is the price pushing up? So we go into our key levels from yesterday. On H4, in our key level, which is 176.478 to 176.818, you see that the H4 didn't do anything. But when we go into a lower time frame, the M30 that I mapped out for you, which was this one, let me change my colors. I forgot to change colors. And this is my M15. Okay, now I told you that M30 created a sell setup in the H4 key level, which was a buy that failed. Price came back, created a sell, another sell. But instead of dropping, it kept testing the zone. So I told you if M30 decided to respect our zone and create another engulfing sell, then I would enter. But as price came in, this M30 decided to close above, meaning the sellers over here are completely invalid. If you go down into a smaller time frame on M15, I told you the same thing. It created a buy that failed. Price came up, sell, another sell. Then when price came to test it again once more, M15 broke our sell zone. Right? So there were no trade because I told you to wait for the setup to complete. If it comes back again, I wait for the second, or not the second, the next engulfing sell to happen to help confirm that the sellers are still there. All right, but it didn't, and the zones broke. Hence, after it broke, price came back on the H4 perspective, touched the key level, and flew. Okay, so GJ, that's what happened. We go to AU. Now, AU was a bit tricky because H4 did break our zone. Like I always tell you, after it breaks, I can look for the opposite direction when it comes into the key level. But when the news happened, FOMC happened in this H4. Hence, the price, after breaking the zone, was able to drop so low that the buyers could not catch up with to close the candle within the zone. So that happens sometimes with the news. It's just that when there's high volume, it just needs to move a lot more, but it's still going into the right direction after breaking. Okay, despite this closing below, H4 is still on an uptrend only because our sell zone was broken. All right, so now that it's in the key level over here, since this H4 broke it, we know that the sellers over here are invalid. This H4 just happened to have the FOMC. So now it's continuing up. So if you want to, you can go into the key level to look for any setups if you want to press on AU because it's in the key level. So what do? Again, go to a smaller time frame. M15 has nothing yet. M5 also nothing yet, but if it does create something, you may enter after the setup has completed. Okay, last but not least, GA. GA, when the news came, price was in this H4. It shot all the way up, but still respecting our zone. So from the key level, it dropped all the way down, almost testing the next key level, and that was 120 pips on one pair. All right, so congrats to those who bought GA. Please trade smart, trade wise, use proper money management, and appropriate lot sizes to your account. And I shall talk to you later.